Hey there, good evening and welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph and I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So this is our Wednesday night favorites, which comes out of course on Wednesday night. We're doing the top 10 favorite songs of Aerosmith. Aerosmith is one of those bands who I love, but I also can't stand at the same time. I know you're asking me why. Okay, so to me, Aerosmith is like Kiss and like Van Halen. They have a lot of really great music, but they're also full of a lot of pomp and arrogance. Sometimes that's annoying, especially when they're fighting amongst each other. Although this band doesn't fight amongst each other too much. This video is probably going to come out late. I've been having trouble with the internet feed for the last few hours, and it may take a while to get it to come out, but we will get it out there. It might be a little bit late though. Okay, so I'm going to do this the way I always do my top 10s, which is from my least favorite to my most favorite, and then I'll give honorable mentions at the end. So what that really means is that whatever song comes in at 10th will come first. I'll say first, and then I'll do the number one last, and then I'll do the reverse order just to repeat it. I also want to say that all these top 10 songs I like quite a bit. Some of the honorable mentions could have easily squeezed in here as well. And I tend to favor the early Aerosmith versus the kind of later stuff. The 90s or the 80s and 90s stuff I am not so crazy about a lot of it, but there are a few tracks on almost all those albums that I still like. I'm just not a big fan of all of the sweet, slippery, sweet ballads that they like to throw out there and all the 150 different writers they like to use. So anyways, we're going to start out with our number 10 from the debut album, going back to 1973. This is Walking the Dog. Yep, like that track a lot. It's actually, I've never owned that album, so this is the one track that I actually had somewhere on cassette at one point and listened to it a lot. I haven't listened to it for a long time because I don't even know where my cassettes are. So anyways, number 10, Walk the Dog. Going up to number 9 is from Pump, which is one of those 80s albums, but I like this song. I always like this song. It was kind of a radio catchy tune. Going Down, Love in an Elevator. Yeah, pretty during their sober days, I guess. Next up comes from Rock in a Hard Place, and we're talking about Bitches Brew. Like this song a lot too. Haven't listened to it much in years, but I did like it quite a bit when I remember hearing it on the radio all the time too. Okay, so then we get down to some older stuff. Coming at number 7, song I've always liked, probably a bit synonymous with Aerosmith in a lot of ways too, from Rocks, and we're talking about Back in the Saddle. I love that. This is the one song that he does that I like the scream on. Normally, I cannot stand the sound of his screeching vocals when he starts screaming. I feel like turning the radio off or whatever I'm listening to. But on this particular song, it's a little bit different. For some reason, I like this one. Okay, coming in at number 6 is Shut Up and Dance. Yes, from Get a Grip. This is an album that I think is better than a lot of those 80s albums. It does have some of that crappy shit on it as well, but it does have 2 or 3 tracks on it that are pretty heavy and that I like quite a bit. And this is probably my favorite of those tracks, Shut Up and Dance. Coming in at number 5, off Toys in the Attic, which is probably my favorite Aerosmith album, and we're talking about Big 10-inch Record. Yeah, like that song a lot. Definitely a pomp and arrogant song, but you know what? I like it anyways. It's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek song, so yeah. Number 4. Same Old Song and Dance from Get Your Wings. Yeah. Same old song and dance, my friends. Yeah. Yeah, I really like that. Used to like it a lot more. It would have been higher a few years back. Okay, coming in at number 3 is kind of the last song from that 80s stuff, and that's Ragdoll from Permanent Vacations. I don't know what it is about the song. It kind of reminds me of Walk This Way in some ways. It's got that kind of almost rappy sound to it. I'm not a big rap sound, but he does a good job on this. Number 2, long being one of my favorite Aerosmith songs. The top 2 have been my favorites forever, and nobody's really close to knocking them out of their spots. And number 2 this week is Sweet Emotion from Toys in the Attic. Just such a classic song. And then number 1 was always going to be number 1. It's been number 1 since I first heard it. I don't really fade out, even though it gets a ton of radio play and everybody talks about it, and almost killing me with it, but I still like it a lot, and that's Walk This Way from Toys in the Attic. So there should be no surprise there that Toys in the Attic is taking the top 2 spots. So I'll just reiterate them. So we got Walk This Way from Toys in the Attic, Sweet Emotion from Toys in the Attic, Ragdoll from Permanent Vacations, Same Old Song and Dance from Get Your Wings, Big 10-inch Record from Toys in the Attic, Shut Up and Dance from Get a Grip, Back in the Saddle from Rocks, Bitches Brew from Rock in a Hard Place. I was drawing a blank there for a second. Number 9, Going Down, Love in an Elevator from Pump, and Walk the Dog from their debut album. Okay, some of the honorable mentions: Salty Dogs from Get Your Wings, another great track. Get the Lead Out from Rocks, that is a song I like quite a bit too. Get It Up and King of Queens from Draw the Line. That's a bit of a weaker album. It's not. I do like these 2 tracks, not enough to make my top 10. The album, I love the artwork on the album, the caricatures drawn on the album quite a bit, but I just don't care as much for the songs overall as I have from some of the other older albums. Jailbait from Rock in a Hard Place, and Eat the Rich from Get a Grip. I also don't mind Get a Grip from Get a Grip, and the other song, Dude Looks Like a Lady, which I'm not sure what album that is on. I think that, yeah, it's on Permanent Vacations. I don't mind that either. But most of that ballad, crappy, sweet, sugar sweet stuff that they did on the last few albums and all that, I don't listen to those albums anyway, so I don't really care too much for them. So you have Aerosmith. The one thing about Aerosmith is the 5 original guys are still the 5 original guys. I mean, they've had a couple of times where a few guys have left here and left there, but it's still the same guys. Same guys that got drunk together are all sober together. I don't know what they're doing now. They could be both. Anyways, so there you have it. Aerosmith, top 10 songs. My top 10 favorite songs of Aerosmith tonight, and I hope you enjoyed that. What are your top 10 favorite songs from Aerosmith? Please like, subscribe. It's much appreciated, and we will see you next week with another favorites. I'm not sure what I'm doing yet. I have a couple of ideas of what I want to do, but I'll know by the weekend which one I'm going to do. I've got several of them on the list that I could do, but there's one particular thing I want to do, but I have to check a couple things first before I decide on it. So you have yourself a good evening, and we will see you next week on Wednesday Night Favorites. Take care.